I'm ending my marriage over a pair of glasses. My husband Jake became obsessed with birth videos during my pregnancy. I thought it was sweet that he wanted to be so prepared, but soon he was binge-watching videos, sometimes all night long, and show me montages of randomers giving birth on shady websites, pointing out things he thought were fascinating or amazing. I tried to brush it off as a weird phase, but then he started saying things like, "We should definitely record your birth for our kids someday." I told him straight out, multiple times, that I didn't want to be recorded during one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. I didn't want any cameras or videos, not even for my family or our future child. He tried to convince me, saying that our child might appreciate having it later, but I stood my ground. I reminded him that this was my body, my labor, and my decision. Reluctantly, he said he understood. I still felt a little uneasy, so I made him promise me that he wouldn't record, and he promised he wouldn't record anything. Then, a few weeks before my due date, Jake broke his glasses. He's practically blind without them, so he ordered a new pair, and to my surprise, they came. Fast forward to the day of labor. It was brutal, exhausting, and everything you'd expect after nearly 12 hours of contractions. I was in and out of focus, the pain so intense that I could barely think straight. I kept my phone on silent so I could concentrate, not realizing I'd soon regret that decision. Jake was there, encouraging me, whispering that I was doing amazing. He was wearing his new glasses, and I didn't give it a second thought. I was just grateful he was by my side. Finally, after hours of agony, our baby was born. I was beyond exhausted, barely able to keep my eyes open. The nurses took the baby to clean up, and I finally felt like I could breathe. Jake was beaming, and I thought everything had gone perfectly. I reached for my phone, wanting to take a picture of our newborn and tell my family the good news. But when I turned on my phone, my heart dropped. There were dozens of notifications of missed calls, texts, messages from family, friends, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. Confused, I opened the first message. It was from my sister. "Are you okay with this?" Then another from my best friend. "I can't believe Jake did this." My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the messages, each one more horrifying than the last. Jake had live-streamed the entire birth. The glasses he had ordered and was wearing throughout my labor were those Ray-Ban X Meta glasses, and he had worn them to livestream my birth on the platform. My labor, my pain, the moment our baby entered the world, all of it, broadcast on his Facebook page for everyone to see. I was horrified. I could feel my face flushing with rage and humiliation. Every intimate, vulnerable moment had been exposed to hundreds of people, without my consent, without my knowledge. I turned to look at him, and he was still smiling, completely oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. I asked him if he had recorded my labor. He blinked, as if he didn't understand why I was upset. Then, with a casual shrug, he said, "Yeah, I thought it would be cool for everyone to experience it with us. Plus, you'll appreciate it one day when we can watch it back with our child." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My body, pain, and vulnerability were all shared with the click of a button, without a second thought. I asked him if he'd even considered my feelings, and reminded him that I'd specifically told him I didn't want to be recorded. He just sighed and said, "You were too out of it to even notice. What's the big deal?" People loved it. They were so supportive. I felt like I'd been slapped in the face. He has violated my trust and turned a sacred moment into a spectacle, all because he thought it would be cool. He had exposed me to the world. There was no remorse, no apology, just justification and defensiveness. He genuinely couldn't understand why I was so upset, and that hurt even more. I'd never felt so humiliated. As I sat there, holding our newborn, I realized that this wasn't the man I thought I'd married. This was someone who prioritized his own amusement and validation over my autonomy, my privacy, and my dignity. I looked at my baby, the tiny life I just brought into the world, and I knew I couldn't raise him with someone who didn't respect me. I acted like everything was normal until we got back from the hospital. When we finally walked in the door, I looked him straight in the eye and told him that I was leaving and that I couldn't be with someone who thought so little of my boundaries. He stared at me, dumbfounded, as if he'd just been blindsided. He tried to tell me I was overreacting, that I was still hormonal from the birth, but I didn't listen. I told him I'd be going to my mom's and that I needed time to think, to process what he'd done. I packed a bag, took my newborn in my arms, and left our house with tears streaming down my face. My family and friends have been supportive, but his side thinks I'm being dramatic and that it's ridiculous to end a marriage over a video. But to me, this wasn't just a video. It was the ultimate violation of trust, a selfish disregard for my wishes, my body and my privacy. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I won't settle for a partner who doesn't respect me.